Hello guys, this is my 2019 Tricopter that's running Inav. Let's go over some quick sizes. So, motor to motor at the front we've got 180mm and front to back we've got 220mm. It's got 1806 brushless motors, and with Inav, unlike Betaflight, they all spin counterclockwise, which means that when the Tricopter flies, it flies with a slight tilt at the back. I'll just go over some of the hardware that I've got on here. I've got the Maytech Mini F411, which is sitting on top of the Mamba Mini 20 4-in-1 ESC. We've got a Eachine Mini VTX, which goes up to 400mW. This gets really hot even at 25mW, so I'll be interested to see how it gets on at 400. At the front we've just got it's a Cadex Turbo, I believe, nothing fancy, and it's got an R9M for the receiver. For the tilt mechanism at the back, it's a very crude. We've just got a timber screw that goes through here. This is clearance in here so it doesn't bind, and it drills in roughly maybe 50mm or so into it, so it's plenty solid. And actually in the flight it flies pretty good. I was quite impressed with how such a crude system works quite well. The server we got, it's an Emax ES08MD11, and that seems to be doing the job just fine from all the flights that I've had on it so far. It does seem pretty touchy, but I'm not sure if that's my piloting skills or if it needs a decent tune. The props I've got on here are the 50x30, well, 50x30 Gemfangs. No, they're not. They're just the cheap ones. But I've got some 60x30, which I think I might chance my luck and put on. It will just about clear. Like you can just about see. It will be very snug, close to the board, but I think we'll get away with it. And for the flights, I'm using just got these really old 1000mAh 35C rating. They seem to be doing fine. They're not coming off hot. 6 or 7 minutes flight time. It's quite impressive. It's nothing. It would get away with having 4-cell quite nicely. It'd be a lot more punchy. But I mean, for pootling about, it seems to be doing the job just fine. The construction though that I've used is just 15mm square pine that I've got from B&Q, and the top plate is 4mm. God, it escapes me now. It's 4mm timber basically on top, and on the bottom I've just got, for the battery tray, I've just got some long standoffs, Velcro, goes in there nicely, and there's no chance that's coming out of there once it's in, so that works quite well. I'm quite pleased with that. Now the reason I built this was because I generally fly quads that are under 250 grams, and they're alright. They fly a lot, well, they fly vastly different to what this flies, but I just fancied a bit of a change, give it a go. But from doing this, I've now gone on to build a full-size, like 2010 Tricopter, the ones off a flight test almost. So I've given that a go. I've yet to fly that because the weather out here in England at the moment is terrible, but I'll be giving that a go hopefully in a week or so, and I'll just quickly show you the size of that one in comparison. This is my full-size Tricopter I've built. I'll just quickly give you some sizes of what I've got motor to motor. So we're getting 570mm at the front and 670 front to back. Now this is very loosely based off the ones that flight tests were making 2010 to 2013. I've never flown a multi-rotor this big, but it's all just cheap parts I had laying about, spare stuff in the shed basically, so I've just sort of put it together to see how it's going to do. It's got the same servo, it's got the same size servo that this little one's got, so that's going to be interesting. It's got an Omnibus F4 flight controller sitting on top of a Maytech PDP board, and then we've got 30A ESCs out on the arms. These motors they're 20x12 race stars, and these were some of the first motors I bought when I got into remote control flying and never really used them, so it's nice to finally find a use for them. And I think they're cheap ones, only £4 or £5 each, so they're dirt cheap. And this is fitted with, this has got compass and GPS. This is also running Inav. That's why I've made my little one run Inav, so that I can sort of test this out and hopefully transfer it to the big one, because I suspect the big one's not going to crash as well. It's going to fall apart. This is the same again, 4mm plywood, and then like the little one, these arms fold in, which makes it slightly better for transport. It's still a bit cumbersome and big, but I mean, it's better for storage that way. There you go. And then sitting out on the arm, we've got VTX. This is just a cheap Earsheen one. Goes up to 600 milliwatts, and that doesn't get quite as hot as this, the little 400 milliwatt one on here. So that should give me a nice bit of range. Same again, Cadix turbo out in the front for the camera, and this has got an FR Sky XM Plus for the receiver, just sitting here. I've tried to sort of separate the GPS away from the ESCs along with the receiver, just to hopefully minimise interference. See how we get on. This same as my other one. It's just got the really quite crude timber screw in the back, which seems to pivots nicely. Doesn't bind or anything like that, and that again goes in about 50mm up the timber. So I think that should be plenty strong enough. The only thing with this is whether that servo is going to be up to the job, but we'll soon find out after a few flights or so if it's going to start packing in. I look forward to flying this one. It should be interesting. Right, before I show you some brief flight footage I've got of this thing flying, I'll go over the wiring quickly. So as I mentioned before, it's the Maytec F411 flight controller sitting on top of the Mamba Mini 20 amp 4-in-1 ESC. I had to get the pin out for the plug that's coming out the front of the Mamba Mini ESC and connect that to the relevant pads on the F411, and that was quite simple to do. I've got ground 5 volts coming out, which in this one is, you've got green and yellow, and then these 3 white wires are S1, S2 and S3, and that's pretty easy to figure out. One thing that caught me out was Inav, unlike Betaflight, you can't remap motor positions, so I was just going to solder these to the closest 3 pads. So this one was going up here originally, but that was wrong because they have to actually go into the correct pads. You can't remap in Inav, unlike you can in Betaflight, so that caught me out. But that was all right. I lucked out and got the 2 other motors in the correct, soldered to the correct the correct pads, and then I just had to swap this one around, and that's worked a treat. They're all spinning now basically as they should be. Another thing to watch out for is powering the servo. You can't power the servo off the 5 volts from the flight controller. It won't provide enough current, and you could blow or damage your flight controller. So I've got a 5 volt BEC just tucked in under here. It's just there. That's the 5 volt BEC, and that's giving power to the servo. And then the signal wire on these are from the servo connects to S5 on the pad, and that's all clearly labelled up in Inav, so it's pretty easy to follow. Now the flight footage I'm going to show you is the first flight I've done with this, and that's before I put camera and a VTX on it, so it's all just line of sight, so it looks a bit ropey, but you can see from it that it flies, and the dodgy flying is more my piloting skills, not the Tricopter's fault.